What does mental illness look like? Well, because of stigma, mental illness may bring to mind images of a homeless person, or a person trapped in their own thoughts, perhaps a violent criminal, or even a patient in a dark and scary mental hospital talking to themselves. But the truth is, mental illness can look like anyone. In fact, it looks a lot like me. I began experiencing the symptoms of bipolar disorder in 2002. The first symptom I experienced was mild depression, although I had no idea what it was at the time. It felt more like the worst flu I had ever had. At no point during this flu did I consider that I was experiencing a mental illness. It took me almost 3 years to accept the symptoms I was experiencing were of bipolar disorder. For all of those years, I delayed seeking help for myself. What I had to overcome first was the stigma I had towards myself. During that time, I realized I had quietly judged those in my life who were suffering from depression and other mental illnesses. I believed there was something wrong with them, their characters, or that they weren't trying hard enough to improve their own lives. I actually thought they were choosing not to get better. I didn't think of them as facing an illness, and this was all happening on a very subconscious level. I didn't even realize it. And it didn't sync at all with my sense of who I was. I believed I was an empathetic, understanding, warm, and non-judgmental person. These judgments came from a place of fear, a lack of understanding of what mental illness really was, and ultimately of stigma. I was wrong. And from 2002 to 2005, I learned my lesson the hard way when I experienced stigma firsthand because of my bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a complex mental illness that causes me to experience periodic changes in mood, so I'm either below or above my baseline. These episodes can last anywhere from hours to months or even years, and they range from mild to moderate to severe on either side. When I'm below my baseline, I experience clinical depression, and when I'm above my baseline, I experience hypomania or mania. Hypomania involves slightly elevated energy levels and a sense of what you can accomplish, and it is possible to function for long periods while hypomanic. Mania, on the other hand, is severely elevated state with an excess of energy, often a total lack of need for sleep, and is usually accompanied by strange behaviors and delusions of grandeur. For me, bipolar disorder caused me to experience long periods of clinical depression, followed by hypomania, which went back and forth for several years. In January 2005, I experienced one of the most frightening challenges of my entire life. It was a 6-day manic episode during which I didn't sleep one wink, and that ultimately left me hospitalized for 3 weeks after my family intervened. In the end, it was the stigma that made my journey to stable health and happiness so difficult. It wasn't the depressions or the periods of hypomania, the manic episode, the number of days without sleep, or even the hospitalization. It was the way my self-stigma impacted my own actions, as well as the discrimination and treatment I faced from people I knew in my deepest time of need. The cold get-well cards, the awkward encounters upon my return to work, the total ignorance of how to react to me or what to say, and worst of all, the discounting of my illness as just a bad time I was going through and something I would soon shake off. These kinds of offhand remarks, combined with others like calling my illness an issue or asking me if I really needed to take that medication, these made me feel constantly judged and unsupported. The greatest takeaway for me on this journey through mental illness has been the realization that my mental illness doesn't make me any less than anyone else in this world. My mental illness is not a problem, and I am not here to help you cure or diagnose anyone else's mental illness. I'm here to undo the harm that is caused by stigma. Because stigma is a trap our society sets us up to fall into. Let me leave you with this one final thought. How would you feel if you were diagnosed with breast cancer or prostate cancer, and upon telling a colleague, they suggested you get more exercise, or that you should try harder not to have cancer? Unfortunately, these are common examples of things people actually say in real life to those diagnosed with a mental illness. I have had them said to me on multiple occasions.